Do not trust the government's inflation numbers. I have been calling this financial COVID because in hindsight, we look back at all the COVID data that they had, all the science that they used to justify lockdowns and to rush improperly timed and tested vaccine on us. All that science, it was fake cherry-picked data. And we are going through financial COVID right now because the CPI, modern monetary theory, GDP itself through the GDP deflator, it's all cherry-picked and manipulated data. If you use the same CPI equation that they used in the 80s and you go in and you plug back in those numbers, last year, we had all-time high inflation. You hear a lot of economists say, well, inflation didn't get as bad as it was in the 70s. Well, that's because you're using a different ruler to measure inflation. If you go back and you use the same ruler, you use the same equation, we had all-time high inflation. The central bank said it was transitory, not to worry about it. And then they said, well, we're going to do what we can about it. And now it's the biggest problem in the world. You cannot trust their information and their data. It's financial COVID. And look what happened to the medical field. Once people looked behind and saw what happened with COVID, a lot of people, whatever the doctor said, you used to just do. You go to the doctor says something, and you say, all right, yeah, it sounds like I trust him. But look now, people are second guessing, like, I don't like my doctor. I want a different doctor. I don't trust this guy. The trust has been diluted in the medical system because of what they did with COVID. Well, that's happening right now in the financial system. But the difference is that the financial system is dependent on that trust. The collateral debt that backs the entire system is dependent on people believing that the government is going to be able to pay them because there's no credit risk. The government can just print the money and pay you. But the problem is when they print the money and pay you, now you don't know what you're going to be able to buy because of inflation. People are losing that trust element. And that trust element lost in finance equals a worthless dollar